Ni hao. Did you eat today? That's what is usually Chinese ask you instead of how are you. China is one of the world's oldest civilization with over 5,000 years of history, rich tradition and incredible culture influence. Unfortunately, when Mao Zedong ruled the country, people were very struggling with the food. So usually instead of how are you, they ask did you eat today? This book is about a young man whose name is Matt, and he has his personal list what's wrong with Matt. Is coward, is he man or boy, is he attracted to the girls, and some other stuff. But to fix all this stuff, he decided to move to China and learn Kung Fu. And if you're 20 years old and you don't know what you want from this life, who you want to be, and you have list what's wrong with you, the best way to move something or move yourself to another country. For example, how did after. If you move to another country and live there a couple years, when you will be back to your country, you already look from the different angle to this problem if they would be still exist, because you would change for this couple years, so probably your problems would be already different also. Especially how it was with after it was 19th and he moved from USA to China, and there wasn't any internet how we used to. You can't call anyone, you can count only to yourself. So Matt, he was studying Chinese Mandarin in college in USA 3 years. He doesn't happy how he lives, he doesn't happy with himself, so he decided to move to another country, to China, and learn Kung Fu, because he thought that it will change his life and also make him strong. Of course, his parents was absolutely disagree with him. They asked him about move maybe to Taiwan because it would be more safety. People in America at that time, they have huge propaganda, and I believe that they still has this propaganda that China is not safety. Personally, me, I really want to visit China. I'm not afraid. It's one of the top countries where I want to go. I know there could be some risk there, but where it can be no risk in our life. Every country, even where you live for now, there is risk to stay there too. And all friends and relatives try to stop Matt to move to the China, but Matt he anyway flew to the China, and that's what I think already was very brave, even when he thinks that he is coward, but he moved to the country where everyone afraid to go. He have no idea what it would be with him, but he anyway do it. So he came to China, to the city what is called Beijing. He understands that he need to find Shaolin Temple, actually the goal why he came there. And on the way to the Shaolin Temple, he is talk with different kind of people in China. And we know that in China there's a communism, right? And that's what they say about communism. The government would help the people live themselves out of poverty, and in return the people would not protest the repressive political power of the government. And after the people were rich, I would ask, mostly the Chinese would just shrug, who knows? But I met one businessman who said with a refreshing cynicism, you can buy love, but you can buy freedom. So Matt in the 90s, he sees that China is kind of poor country compared with America. And even more Chinese then look at America and say how great country is America. And Matt asked maybe one day the China would be the same as America, and all Chinese say that probably no, or maybe it would be in 20, maybe it would be in 50 years. And Matt says that maybe if they need to do something against all the government, that their lives would be better. But the Chinese usually answer that they have kind of deal with the government. The government give Chinese people to live peaceful, and Chinese wouldn't do any rights. There's some temple between the mountains and nobody there except of monks. And what it was the shock for the hour after, because when he seen the Shaolin Temple, he seen there's like many restaurants, many shops, many markets, many tourists there. After some time, he found out that Shaolin Temple started to be very popular because of the movie Shaolin Temple with Jet Li. Why I love China is because of Jackie Chan. I so much enjoy to watch movie with Jackie Chan and Bruce Lee. So I think that's how I started my love for the China. When it came to Shaolin Temple, he told them that he wanted to learn Kung Fu there, and they said, of course, no problem. It would cost 1,300 per month. It was more than he expected, of course, but he didn't have choices, so he will pay 4 months. And after 4 months, it was another foreign person there, and he asked him how much he paid for learn Kung Fu, and he answered that he paid only 550 per month. So Matt was extremely angry, and he understood that he is overpaid, and he decided that next month he will pay how others foreign people. And when he show up and say, okay, I will pay only 550 per month, leaders of these temples, they were angry, and that's how it started to be negotiations, because what is most important in China, and I believe even after 40 years, oh my gosh, it's already 40 years, even after 40 years, it's still very important negotiation in China. And Matt understood that with many stuff he will overpay, and I believe that after a couple of years in China, he became master of negotiations. Another what it was for me very funny and so much true about Americans. When Matt came for the breakfast, it was in the special restaurant where he had breakfast special for foreign people. It's in China very divided, was on the time for the low wage. It's foreign in Chinese and for the Chinese people. So foreign people, they had in that time more privileges than it was Chinese people. In the 90s, they have different currencies for the foreign people and for the Chinese people. And even if you are millionaire or billionaire in the China, unfortunately, when you move from the China, you wouldn't have any money because you can use only Chinese value. You can be millionaire with Chinese money, but when you move to another country, you would be nobody there. When Matt showed up for the breakfast, there were different kind of meals there. He will ask about French fries, and he was upset that in China they don't have French fries. So he even went to the chef and tried to explain him how to cook French fries. And after this, waitress was asked him what he want to drink. There's tea, there's water, there's the Chinese soda, but Matt wants Coca-Cola, and in the restaurant, of course, they didn't have Coca-Cola, so he decides went to the market and find Coca-Cola. And I think that it's so American. Recently, I invite some American friends to have ice cream in some Arabic store, what I really enjoy to be there. There's so many different flavors of ice cream, and it's some of them very unique. And what does Americans choose? They choose flavors cookies and flavors Snickers. I have been lived in America many years, but still I had shocked when it was so many flavors, so unique flavors, and I wanted to try absolutely all of them, and they choose Snickers and cookies. Of course, you can, like in the regular store, find Snickers and cookies. Like seriously. Matt finally started learn Kung Fu how he wanted. Monks who teach Kung Fu, they usually didn't have more money for this. They prefer just teach some people who show up for 1 month or 3 months as for the short term than for the long term. And what I was surprised is that drunken style in Kung Fu is actually existing. I watched movies with Jackie Chan. There were called something drunken master or something like this, and there were drunken style. And I thought that it's just for movie, but no, actually drunken style is existing. I actually would like to learn this drunken style. I think it would be kind of fun. There are, of course, two different styles of Kung Fu, and what is another interesting style they have is Iron Kung Fu. Your arms or body became very hard, and when someone punch you, you wouldn't feel anything, but that person will be very hurt. And another, what it was interesting character there, it was Monk Dong that explained how it is Iron Crotch. I think I will better read that you will understand more properly this. Monk Dong, naked from the waist down, had placed his testicles on a wooden desk. At regular intervals, he brought down the palm of his right hand hard on his sock. He smacked and grunted. I winced. I'm not a man, but when I read it, honestly, even for me, it was sounds very painful. So I couldn't imagine how it would be for the man. He was able to contract his muscles, actually pulling his testicles up inside his body. As we walked into the courtyard, I saw a large stone roller and several boulders with ropes wrapped around them. The Iron Crotch method of strengthening Mr. Happy was not the one with which most teenage boys are so familiar. Monk Dong dropped his drawers, picked up the rope attached to the stone roller, and tied it to his Johnson. The roller looked like one of the wheels on Fred Flintstone's car. It must have weighted 500 pounds, and he did 5 steps. That's what it was very crazy about these different styles. And another what it was interesting moment that one monk, he could stand only with 2 fingers, and it was show up another foreign person, and he wanted to study how to do it, and the monk told him that it's impossible even for him anymore, because stand for 2 fingers would only teenagers, because it's supposed to be certain weight. If you're a teen or you have son who is teenager, welcome to the China, and they probably will teach your son how to stand with 2 fingers. Medicine in China is still very famous about the Chinese medicine. When I was child, I frequently was sick, so my parents would try all different type of medicine, and of course it was Chinese there also. Or drink some beer tea from China, and of course it was needles everywhere on my body, and some other different stuff. And what it was interesting in the book is that Matt, he damaged his knee, and there was another monk, and he called him Dog. He mixed some different kind of ingredient. There also was skin of the rats, and he gave it to Matt, and Matt drank it during 10 days, and he said that never again his knees were bothering him in his life. Next time when he was sick with dysentery, and monks took him to the hospital, it was very bad experience for him, because doctors, nurses, no one cared about him at all. It was very messy and dirty there. And doctor was small there, and what is meant says that if you're sick and you won't for sure die, so welcome to the Chinese hospital. When he back to the temple, he already thought that he will probably die, but eventually he survived somehow. I very like when Matt show monks movies with Steven Seagal, Jean-Claude Van Damme, and he was very curious what his monk will say about their martial arts. Well, like movies, but they couldn't understand how they could be really good fighters, because Kung Fu, it's not about how much muscles you have. Kung Fu is about how fast you are. And if you have a lot of muscles, probably you would be slow. If you would be slow, so it means you would be not a good fighter. So Steven Seagal and Jean-Claude Van Damme, they both has a lot of muscles, and for the monks, they both seemed very weak. During when Matt stayed in the temple and learned Kung Fu, he met with different foreign people who show up to the temple. Also, they wanted to learn Kung Fu. And first it was Carlos. He was from the Spain, and he wanted to stay in these 2 fingers, what we talked before. Monks told him that it would be very unbelievable if it will happen. But Carlos anyway decided to try, so he and Matt, they a lot of attend to the stretching exercise, and that was another funny moment. They made for them different, interesting and strong exercise, and they usually love how they did it. When Matt starts to complain to his another friend who is also monk that he doesn't like other monks all the time laugh from him, that monk was answer, what do you expect? They don't have TV. What else they're supposed to do here? Another foreign person in temple, it was Ahmed. Ahmed was from Afghanistan. If you're interested more about Afghanistan, here you can see I made before video about Afghanistan, and it was very interesting. But he was surprised that Ahmed, he lived with other monks. I said people for small room and there's no bathroom, no shower, no anything. And Matt understood that he couldn't live the same as Ahmed. For Ahmed it was good because in his country he lived much worse. In my spectrum of experience, Shaolin was as bad as it got. I knew very little about Afghanistan. Like most of my fellow countrymen, I prefer not to learn too much about dysfunctional countries until after my government invaded them. It's emotionally easier that way. I think it's so true because not all Americans know where is some country located and more information about this country, right? For what to learn it if still we not invaded this country. When we invade that, probably we learn anyway more about this country. A foreign person in Shaolin Temple, his name is Michael and he comes somewhere from the European country. Everywhere he brings with himself a piano, and that was kind of absurd because there was that regular room in Shaolin Temple where it was almost nothing inside, just bed and almost that's it, and suddenly it showed up piano, and Michael, he would like to play piano, but in general that man, he was weirdo because he would believe in different type of races, and he would believe that there was the most important race, it's sixth race. Who knows what is sixth race? I quite didn't get it, but for him it was important. He liked to do meditation, and during his meditation he believed that all kind of gods will show up. It was Jesus, it was Odin, it was Thor and others. To the end of this book you can more and more see that the most struggle it was celibate. All monks they have celibate, and after of course he tried to do it too, but after a few months he already had even some homosexual dreams and he was afraid that he actually homosexual. But after a few days he understood that he is not, and he loves women, and more to the end of the book, you see that it's show up different mistress, it show up a different girl, and in general it tells more about women in China. We see that in China, especially if it's not big city, even if it's big city, it's very strict rules for the women. Also, it's supposed to be a marriage. Another what it was the thing that if it's foreign person, it was counts bad in China that Chinese woman would be with foreign men. But anyway, many women in China, they all dreamed to have relationship with Americans because Americans, they count like kind of rich people and probably they would have better life. But another was kind of interesting when after again show up in China after 10 years, China of course became very different, but another that when he meet with his friends monks, most of them already had wives and children, and that's what it was interesting for me because I thought if you're monk and if you took celibate, so you're supposed to follow this whole your life, but it seems it's kind of different. Conclusion of this book, I enjoyed to read this book. It was some funny moments there. I like that it was touch many spheres in the China and really learn China from the 90s. I'm pretty sure that it's changed very, very much in the big city, but I'm also pretty sure that probably in the small towns it's the same how it was 40 years ago in this book. Probably, of course, it became better, but I'm don't think that it's so much better, because also we should remember they have only their own Chinese platform, their own Chinese internet, Chinese social media. Now it's really important is global connections, right? And China still don't have it. So from my perspective, if country doesn't have global connection, it's huge minus. After I came to the China after 10 years, and it was already huge difference, and he had showed how much different China became. And I think if he would be show up now, he would have even more shocked about how China became different. And I see now bloggers who lives in the China, it's totally different world, but still I want to visit and to see how different world it is. I enjoyed to read how after was changing during these years, and you even can see from the list what's wrong with the man, because before it was covered boy, not a man, not attracted to other girls, right? Like all of this. And after 2 years learning of Kung Fu and spent in China, his list changed, and he understood that it always would be something wrong with him, because we people not perfect, right? And we always will find what is wrong with us. What it was his second list, what is I think is list of the real man. He will already concentrate to find a good job. And second, to have family, have wife and have children, and maybe dog. Of course, it's America, how it can be without dogs. Thank you that you've been with me, and see you on my next video, next vlog. Bye, Jen!